She's a maniac, maniac on the floor. Okay, now we're energized. Today on the Content Creator Confessions podcast, we are talking about all things AI. We're going to give you some special tools. We're going to talk about our stances on AI from a content creation point of view. It's in the media, it's hot. AI profiles are getting made and they're becoming famous. Who knows? But we're going to talk about all that and more, starting with my stance on AI personally. You and I have talked about it a lot. And I think that it's one of those things that takes a while to get that like perfectly formulated opinion. So know that like what I say now probably is not how I'm going to feel in a couple months, even because things are changing drastically.
Yeah.
But I would say that what sparked this kind of episode, I mean, in general, was that I saw this person on video and they were showing how they were on video in their room, but then AI was generating video of them as a caveman in a cave and as like a pioneer person in a cabin. I don't know what it was. Now their mouth wasn't moving, so it wasn't perfect. They were just moving kind of in sync, but it was showing how, we've talked about this in past episodes, how video AI is going to have a little bit more struggle coming for video versus just display assets. But
Yeah.
this really wowed me. And it kind of showed me though the perk, I guess, of AI and maybe how it can maybe be my friend in the
Hmm.
future, in that I can use it to, I mean, for my own content, put me other places in Michigan and do funnier skits. I was talking to you right before about how it seems like AI could really take us from just being obviously green screened, with an image behind us, to actually giving people that perspective of a full animated video, which is kind of,
Mm-hmm.
to me as a creative, I'm like, the possibilities are endless. And I see this kind
Yeah.
of trend of the world is your oyster, create your own world, create your own community with things like Minecraft, Meta AI, things like that. So although I am even scared for AI and what that looks like from a professional point of view and like what jobs it will take and what have you, I feel like it was nice getting that one instance of it can be my friend maybe.
Hmm.
But what's
Mm-hmm.
your stance?
Yeah. Interesting. Well, I guess I'm curious what about that video made you feel better based like compared
Ooh,
to other AI
yeah.
content you've seen. You know what I mean? Like what was it that?
That was the first time that it looked like maybe I just read a lot of the cues into it, and maybe that was what I was meant to do, and the person wanted it to come across as that, but that it seemed like an average person that found
Yeah.
this platform that, I mean, to me too, the idea that it can just recreate something that it sees on camera technologically seems a little bit more doable. So I guess for me, like my brain was like, oh, this is super possible. And I think the
Mm-hmm.
example I gave you was, for anyone who's new to the pod, I make content for Michigan and Michiganders. I could put myself, walking along the Mackinac Bridge, actually
Yeah.
walking along it, as an AI character, maybe I create that becomes maybe more famous than me. I mean, I guess you and I have talked about Paris Hilton a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like in the past for like fun stuff, she was kind of the first one to start doing the AI,
Yeah. Like the
you
avatars
know,
and stuff.
yeah, the
Yeah.
avatars, the DJing. She even has it like kind of sprinkled in her social media content these days
Mm.
where she gets avatars created. I think I
Mm.
even noticed like this new pop group I follow, they had the visual that they're using for an album cover is like them as dolls.
Mm.
So it's kind of like, is the future maybe just cool versions of Latasha and Ryan that
Mm-hmm.
are doing things online and
Mm-hmm.
it feels more like entertainment, like it's not real life?
Yeah.
Or does it stay kind of just this example of real life? And I
Yeah.
guess that video specifically gave me inclination, like, oh, maybe because I back in the day actually wanted to become an animator, I
Yeah.
could make a short animated film about
Yeah.
Detroit, and like it can be a whole thing.
Yeah. My stance, I told Ryan at the before we started recording, I said, first of all, I might get canceled. Second of all, please cut me off if I go on for 20 minutes because
Come
it's
on.
nuanced. Like, this is not I'm yes for it or no, I'm not for it. conversation, I don't think. I think as all of our conversations, I think that's
Yeah,
why it's a podcast.
right.
Um, we've got a lot to say, but okay. So I guess to give my formal stance after maybe like a year and a half, 2 years of really the explosion of like chat GPT, for example, I think what I've learned is that I am personally not super pro most forms of generative AI, which is where they are like creating something new. So an example of that is chat GPT, write a bunch of social captions for me and I'm going to copy and paste them,
Yeah.
or write a full script for a YouTube video for me. Like it brings about the question, which I think we're going to get to later, of just like, are you really a content creator if you're just using an auto generated script?
Right.
You know? Um, so I think I'm not for that. The AI tools, and we'll talk about tools, but the ones that I use are really just like a way of repurposing my content. Like,
Yeah.
I don't personally see an ethical dilemma in regards to that of like taking my video and pulling out clips from it
Right.
or
Removing
giving me
busy
a
work.
yeah, removing like the busy work and optimizing content that I have already created and the work that I've already done, because that like this podcast, we are actually here as actual humans.
We are real.
I promise. I know it's hard to tell these days. But yeah, like we actually had this experience, you know, and so taking a transcript of that or taking
Yeah.
clips, I think is, you know, relatively harmless, if you will. And then I do think that, yeah, it's a tool like generative AI, even like what you're describing, I think can also be a tool, just like a green screen. You know, green screen's been around forever. I'm for the first time watching Lost. Have you watched
Ooh.
that show?
I know a lot about it. I've watched like a
Okay.
handful of episodes.
No
It's an older show,
spoilers.
right?
Yes, I
Yeah.
just finished season 2. So, anyone listening, please no spoilers beyond that. But it is funny because, like, yeah, it's from the early 2000s. It was
Hmm.
huge. And watching it now in 2025, you're like, oh my gosh, like the special effects. I won't spoil, but there's like some kind of monster type situations, you know,
Yeah.
that are just like so bad. You're looking at them like, what the heck? And I'm like, and literally AI today, like I could punch in whatever, one of these AI
Right.
tools and make a better, you know, special effect
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
this huge show. So definitely like I think there are uses. Obviously, I would never say like, what is it called that is like the special effects thing that everyone uses?
Oh, Spark? Is that the
Maybe.
one?
Yeah, maybe.
That's
I
what
don't know.
that Adobe Spark I think is
Hmm.
the I think that is.
Yeah, but whatever. Like I would never say like no, don't make monsters in films or you know what
Right.
I mean? Like so I definitely think there is a use case for it, but I think I just get really hesitant about the overuse of it. Of
Yeah.
like do you really need to AI yourself like making a video. Like when I see just like the talking head, like,
Yeah.
okay, instead of me sitting down and recording this, I could technically just punch in like Latasha has a conversation with her friend Ryan. Like, but why? Like, why are we
Right.
eliminating real human conversations, real human jobs, real human experiences? Like, why do we so badly want to eliminate human creativity, which is the fun part? To your point, getting
Right.
rid of busy work is one thing, but like the I don't want to do emails. I don't want to cut out ums and ahs, but like I
Right.
do want to create videos. That's why I'm a content creator. Why would I want to not do that anymore? I don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard for us to fathom because creativity is really like the fun of our life, right? It is
Mm-hmm.
like it is what I mean. Like I've said it, I think on the pod of like my mantra is I'm created to create.
Yeah.
That's what I'm here for. I'm here to be creative. That's what
Mm-hmm.
kind of like keeps me going. You know, when I wake up, I'm excited to make a new video. I'm excited to get on a pod with my friend Latasha and talk about
Mm-hmm.
all things content creation. And I feel like the thing that I was thinking about when you were talking was like, why do we want to evolve so badly?
Mm-hmm.
You know, in the creative space, I
Yeah.
guess. It's kind of like, I wonder in the future as AI, because we can't stop it, I feel.
Yeah.
Uh, I wonder in the future how people will look at kind of like real art, like at a museum.
Yeah.
Like I already kind of look at it, I think, because I see so many new things of art going on. I already kind of look at older stuff in a certain light. Like I was just at the Louvre in
Mm-hmm.
Paris, and they
Yeah.
had oh my gosh, like the size of the things. That's when like where you start to hear like this took 7 years for this person to
Mhm.
paint because it's so big.
Yeah.
Um, and then that image could be printed and
Mhm.
generated in the new day
I know.
so easily. And so I think that will be almost the conversation of, I mean, will we see a split in like the population when it comes
Yeah.
to like social media was the boom where everyone got on board. Now
Yeah.
is AI the next boom where kind of like you mentioned with your email of like this was written by a human. Are we going to have
Mhm.
the people that prefer this human content?
Yeah.
Even I've seen some AI generated videos because, oh, what sparked it too to continue um, building on what I saw is there was this, I forget the name of it, but people were able to like take a picture of them in a dress and it shows them like playing basketball in the NBA, shows them like swinging a home run. And people were
Yeah.
like, oh, these are all, I sat down and I thought I didn't do anything this year, but look at what I did. And it's kind of
Mm.
supposed to be funny. And I was
Yeah.
actually like cracking up a little bit. So I said, oh, okay, for humor purposes, again, for entertainment,
Yeah.
I can totally love AI. I mean, like you said, with movies, like
Mhm.
me and you could probably create a movie similar to the Style of Lost if we just get some, an animator on board.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
I
like it's crazy. Go ahead.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think yeah, yes and no. Like another one that I think about is Titanic.
Yeah.
James Cameron, he was so innovative in that he actually went to Titanic. Like he went to the wreckage.
Oh, he
He
did. Oh, he
yeah,
got into it. Yeah.
yeah, he like I'm pretty sure he is like a major innovator in submarine technology
Uh,
for that movie. If I'm not mistaken, I could be
no, I
totally
can
making
I
this
can
up,
totally see that
but
being a thing though, because he
yeah.
was probably given a good amount of money and said like, hey, but you gotta go down there.
Yeah.
I guess.
And one, that's like so cool. First of all, that's a cool human experience he had and was able to do. And two, I think it brings a level of emotion to the project that isn't there if I just said, "Hey, ChatGPT, show me what Titanic looks like down there."
Yeah.
Like he actually saw how deep this ship sank. He saw wreckage and ruins and artifacts and was able to take that into the film, like with his own eyes, you
Yeah.
know? I think there is still a human element that needs to be in any type of content that is meaningful. I mean, yeah, like making a silly little like Instagram video, like that's different. Like I think
Yeah.
that's obviously fine. It's just for some LOLs, like whatever. But like I don't want AI songs. Okay. I
You're
just
right.
don't. It's not about the words or making it in the style of this artist. It's about what that artist was going through in their personal life at the time. And,
Hmm.
that I remember you said that to me one time when we were talking about making music. And I was like, yeah, I'm like trying to like learn how to sing better and stuff. And you're like, you said something like just like singing other people's lyrics, like you feel that emotion, like it's a kind of like an emotional experience. I'm paraphrasing whatever you said, but it
Yeah.
was very poignant.
I
And it's
mean,
true.
fun. You introduced me to Nako way back in the day, and
Hmm.
that was honestly, that one of the first times that I really heard. I think his genre was like world music, and
Hmm.
that was like one of the first times I actually was like, yes, oh my gosh, yes, I
Yeah.
love this music. It's so good. Like
Yeah.
it hit my heart so hard, and that
Yeah.
was like one of the first times that had happened. And it was like a full band. It
Hmm.
was very
Yeah.
his songs are very, on that album at least were very emotional, very like
Hmm.
very odd in some ways, but you could tell based on like a personal experience of some sort.
Yeah, for sure.
Um and so yeah, I think what's funny is like to kind of segue into the tools that we were kind of talking about. I feel
Hmm.
like we both currently are on the side of we want it to help us. We don't want it
Hmm.
to replace us,
Yeah.
which some people, and like I even said, like the things I've said, I want foundationally, I always want to be at the core of whatever content I'm making. And I
Yeah.
think tools like um, Riverside in
Hmm.
general that help cut down this podcast to make shorts on YouTube, which if you haven't checked them out and want a little summary, you can all
Yeah.
go to YouTube and check them out too. And even think you said Cast Magic was another
Yeah.
one that you use a lot. And is that similar to doing cuts for
Yeah. I
things?
Yeah, I link my YouTube videos and then it gives me a transcript, it gives me timestamps. It does give some AI generated writing, which I don't
Hmm.
use, but like I might use it to spark an idea. It'll give
Yeah.
me like a summary, like this podcast is blah 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 about, and it just kind of helps me when I'm formulating my newsletter, social captions, that kind of stuff.
Right.
So again, it's not making something out of nothing. Like I didn't just type in write a podcast about AI for me. Like, no, I'm taking the podcast that I recorded about
Yeah.
AI and then making sub content basically from
Right.
it.
Can I actually share something personal before we get
Yep,
into like just like
please.
actually it's tied to a tool.
Hmm.
So with ChatGPT, I did something recently that I don't know how I feel about it.
Okay.
And I'm curious your thoughts and listeners if you want to give a comment on your thoughts too. I have my in-michigan.com, which is supposed to be kind of like a blog site that helps um, just people get fun content about Michigan and Detroit and travel guide, things like that. So I was making something for my travel guide kind of like series, and it was a
Hmm.
post about the best restaurants in Detroit. Now, these are all ones that I have eaten at, that I have kind of like a general summary of.
Hmm.
But to save myself time, because I am short for time these days and just
Yeah.
all the different projects I like working on, I used ChatGPT and said, hey, can you just write up like a short paragraph about X restaurant in Detroit specifically,
Hmm.
so it knows to not read it one differently,
Hmm.
and use this kind of info, which was my personal experience with it, to kind
Hmm.
of blend into this information, which I would assume it pulls from like their website or
Hmm.
Google results of like the description that the restaurant probably gave for it.
Right.
And I did this for about all, I think it was for like all 7 places.
Hmm.
And it was purely just because I knew that people weren't gonna read it all, except for
Mm.
maybe like the first sentence that mentions more so like
Yeah.
what my personal note is. And then they're probably gonna select the Instagram page that I linked, look
Hmm.
at the imagery, things like
Yeah.
that more so to make their decision.
Right.
So I used it to help me in a bit of a time crunch. I still felt like I was giving me, but to me, even thinking about it and talking about this podcast, I feel as though, is it worth it if you're not touching it 100%? I
Hmm.
feel like it still is. I
Hmm.
don't know. I feel like it's like you almost have to look at like what percentage of you do you feel like is in
Hmm.
that piece of content, I
Yeah,
guess.
for sure. Well, okay, one thing that I'll say, well, obviously you're the only judge of your own moral compass, so I would never tell you whether it's right or wrong. I think at the end of
No,
the
just
day,
your
that's,
thoughts.
yeah. But the one thing that I do always warn people about written content is that the copyright laws on it are very questionable. AI
Interesting.
generated content cannot be copyrighted. So for a blog post or social caption, okay, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like when people start getting into writing books, writing songs, writing scripts for films or even YouTube videos that you want to lay claim to,
Yeah.
if this whole video was a script written by ChatGPT, somebody else could just copy it or say it's
That's a good
theirs.
point.
That AI generated video you shared with me, probably technically, you could just repost it and say it's yours.
Right.
So I think that is the questionable area of like, is it worth it? Do you want to not technically own your blog content?
Yeah.
And I think the thing for me with there's okay. Again, Latasha's rants. Okay, there's a couple of
Keep going. I
things.
want to know more of your thoughts.
I'm getting stressed out. Okay, there's a couple of things with it. Is like number one for me personally, because I've tried it. I'm like, okay, let me like get off my high horse and let me just try to like see what the fuss is all about.
Yeah.
And I've tried to like have it help me write landing pages or emails or blog posts or whatever. And like I just feel like I do it better. Or a human, even if it's not
Yeah.
me, if it's paying a copywriter, they just do it better. And what I end up doing, like even with Cast Magic, like I said, they do some AI written content. And I've like, okay, this is like a decent tweet or threads post or whatever. Let me start with this. I end up rewriting like it ended up being a completely new post.
Yeah.
And so I just find it more helpful for that to be like maybe a thought starter or like a prompt. Think of it as
Right.
that. And then you write it yourself. And then where the rant comes in is like, okay, well, I know some people will say, well, I'm not a good writer, Latasha. And then I will say, well, do we want to just raise a social, group of just people who can't write? Like, is
Right.
that the answer? Is like, because I'm not good at something, I'm never going to try. I'm never going to try to take a course to learn to use like a tool like Grammarly has helped me, which is like does have AI elements to it. It's
Right.
helped me become such a stronger writer. I just have the browser extension and
Same.
it corrects, yeah, like corrects my grammar in real time. And I'm like, wow, I'm learning as opposed to just saying chat GPT will just do it for me.
Yeah. And sometimes Grammarly will suggest things that, especially because I work in marketing, where the way
Hmm.
I word it is very much for my clients to understand.
Hmm.
And Grammarly is saying, oh, that's wrong. That they always are kind of wanting to change the way I say a certain word or two.
Yeah.
And so you still have to practice. You still have to
Yeah.
give your 2 cents. You still have to, and I think it's like, it's almost tying into like when it comes to work, having to Google things to kind of move through a project or to understand a specific thing about a platform you're using,
Yeah.
uh, and getting still like paid for that,
Yeah.
because what I always tell folks that I still need to know the exact words to find that information, which
Yeah.
takes years of understanding how the industry works and how to specifically put in that keyword or phrase.
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
feel like yeah, that's interesting, and I think that you make a good point with people saying, "Well, I'm not good at this." It's okay.
Mhm.
That's okay that you're not great at something, and you just might have to work at it a bit
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, and you also just never know where you're going to find something that is a passion or that you're good at. Like I
Yeah.
always use the example, I started my schooling in community college because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I
Hmm.
had to take that public speaking class. I didn't want to. I was terrified of it. And it ended up like if I never took that public speaking class, I probably wouldn't be here doing what I love for a living and talking into a microphone for a living. And
Yeah.
so it's like that was very hard and very scary for me. If I could have just had AI avatar Latasha go to that class, I would have. And then who knows where my life would have, what I
Right.
would be doing now for a career. So, like, I'm not trying to, I know everyone, I already know people like the not haters, but the opposition in the chat is like, Latasha, you're being a Luddite. Like, you're like, just let technology advance. And it's like a calculator. And it's like, I get that, but I did still have to learn how to manually do stuff
Right.
in math. Like, yes, I'm going to use a calculator for like the really big, really hard things, or maybe, yeah, just for those quick, busy work type of things.
Hmm.
But I still, if I have to, if I'm out in the wild, if I'm on Lost, okay, and I need to like calculate the number of whatever mangoes to bring back to the people on the beach, I know how to do it with paper or my
Yeah.
fingers. Like I think there are just certain human skills that we can't just be like we're going to chat GPT write everything. I think that's dangerous. I think that breeds a culture
Yeah.
of not that educated people or capable people, and that's scary. Like
Yeah.
I really don't want to get to conspiracy theory here, but that's all I'll say is do we want to give up the things that make us human and that make us skillful, to these huge tech companies? That's all I'll say.
The only thing I'll throw into that is that maybe AI will come along kind of how the internet did. And I always relate it to my dad because he had a computer science degree and used Scantrons.
Mhm.
And then was better suited to understand the internet when it did come around and how to use it on your computer. And he was able to really help the small business that he bought from his dad to kind of get into the digital era, which was
Mhm.
just needed. Otherwise, it would have,
Totally.
gone under or what have you. So I feel like maybe that's the point we're in.
Yeah.
And we're becoming the people that will struggle a little bit more to adjust versus like our nieces and nephews that
Mhm.
played Minecraft and understand how to code pretty simply, or just understand. It's not even like as it's not about even some of those like hard skills like coding. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
just about almost like willingness, understanding. I feel that like
Mhm.
you and I, especially when like AI came around to like using that to create content, I kind of said I don't want to, similarly
Mhm.
to you. So I want it to come from me. I want it to start and be fully from me. But now getting a little bit of help, am I dipping my toes into it?
Yeah.
I think that's where I see it as it could be the next internet,
Oh,
I
for sure.
guess.
I mean, it's going to disrupt every single industry. And I
Right.
think, and yeah, that's what I said. Like, I'm not anti AI. I think
No.
some of the things that I've seen in like the medical world are amazing. Yeah, of course. Like AI detect all the cancer cells ever. Like that's amazing. I don't think
Right.
anybody would say that's a bad thing.
Right.
But I think it's like I think fundamentally my issue with it when it comes to content creation or art or creativity is I think it just leans into this very anti artist, anti creator sentiment or devaluation uh, of those disciplines. You know, to your
Yeah.
point, it takes 7 years to create some paintings. You know, I come from a family of artists. I get that. My uncles worked on paintings for like ever, like, you know,
Right.
and I understand my grandpa was a musician. I'm a musician, was a musician. Like I know how much discipline and time it takes to learn an instrument. And again, not saying that just oh it should be hard, like it should like gatekeeping. That's not where I'm
No.
saying it. I'm saying the emotion, the human elements, the human experiences that go into those crafts are what make it so special. It's not just punching something into a computer and
Yeah.
being like, here's this generic, you know, soulless, like I want soul. You know,
Yeah.
Bob Dylan has the worst voice ever. Okay. I'm sorry. He does. Not ever, but he's not a great singer, you know? People love Bob Dylan. I love Bob Dylan because of it's because of that voice, because that voice carries emotion. You know,
Yeah.
it communicates emotion and you know, goes into his lived experience as a human being. And
Yeah.
I just worry that we're losing that, which I think brings us into maybe a topic that a little bit of a hot topic. Okay, so I know you said you were not as glued into this,
I
but
just heard about it. I heard all the news about this AI
y-
profiles being
yeah,
entered by Meta onto
hmm
Instagram. What?
yeah.
What? Why?
So so Mark Zuckerberg said that they're going to be introducing AI characters or avatars. I don't remember the exact word he used. I'll try to find a quote, but and then shortly after, people were discovering these profiles of people. They were posting them all over threads. They were actually created back in 2023, so they were not new. And this is kind of like the tea on this topic
Yeah.
is I think long story short, Meta ended up saying we're going to take down these weird AI profiles, which were one of them. I'm quoting or paraphrasing here. She was like, "I'm a queer black mama of two," or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And people were like, okay. And then they're chatting in with it and they're saying, like, okay, you're a queer black mom of two, like, tell us about, you know, your culture and like why your identity like matters to you and stuff. And the AI was spitting back to people like, oh yeah, it was engineered by a bunch of like non-black, non-queer people. And like it was weird. Okay.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
super weird. And people were like, what is going on? And also, ethically, where do we stand with that then? If we're not only creating AI bots, but then we're also using them to like take social stand, you know, this
Right.
kind of like trying to be like an activist
Yeah.
kind
Like, why did
of.
you make a black queer AI
Yeah.
profile? Like,
Yeah.
why does the profile have a gender? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, that doesn't really make sense, even
Yeah. And then like
at
taking
this
these
point.
kind of like social stances, you know, like if you're putting
Right.
I'm a proud black queer mom of three, to me, you're saying I'm proud of those things.
Right.
And I kind of want to be like a a leader or something in
Yeah.
those. But
Deliverer of information regarding my experience as a person.
yes, but then you're engineered by people who do not have experience in
Right.
those worlds. Like there's an ethical issue there, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they said we're taking these down. But my real tea on this is my understanding when Mark Zuckerberg made the statement that they're creating AI profiles, they weren't even talking about these ones. They were talking about um, just like users. Like we are going to create things to populate Instagram essentially to add to the experience. These profiles were creator profiles. So my hypothesis is this is going to be swept under the rug because they said they're deleting the creator profiles, but I still think there will be like essentially bots on Instagram soon.
Gotcha.
But that's my
Creating
theory.
content, you think?
No, no, just like viewers, like users to interact with and like comment on your stuff.
Oh, maybe they're doing that so that it can like learn about like what commenting as a human is like.
Yeah.
And like if you get a response to that, I guess. I mean, to be honest, they based on the comments I see on some people's that are clearly like the double emoji, you know,
Yeah.
automated comments, maybe the AI can actually offer
Yeah.
a sentence or two, a comment.
Can I
Um, but that's like it's so against bots though that doesn't make any sense.
yeah.
That
I
makes
can I
no sense.
read the actual quote because I
Yeah,
want to make sure I'm not just like making this up. So this is in December 30th, 2024. Um, an article from Social Media Today. It says, aside from injecting AI chatbots into every aspect that it can, Meta's next plan is to deploy millions of generative AI characters and have them pose as actual users on Facebook and Instagram. Meta's VP of product said, and I quote, we expect these AIs to actually, over time, exist on our platforms kind of in the same way that accounts do. They'll have bios and profile pictures and be able to generate and share content powered by AI on that platform.
millions. What are they trying to just like replace the human users? I guess. Then who's gonna buy products and for the marketing dollars? You know what I'm
it's
saying?
it rang so many alarm bells. Like even just taking my again woo woo artist. Okay, I know everybody wants me to shut up about that. Taking that hat off, it concerns me from a content from like a money perspective because I'm
Yeah.
like, cool. So my sponsors are gonna pay me to make content for a bunch of bots? No,
Right.
sponsorship dollars are going to be out the window. Like, why would they pay for that? Advertising dollars. Are your clients going to pay you to run ads to a bunch of bots? Why would they do that?
Right.
Like, it's doesn't even make financial sense to me.
Are they? I guess I would say like because usually sometimes these big companies will do things to kind of try to take money back from money that's
Mm-hmm.
going to like creators a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because people maybe like advertising dollars decrease because then maybe that means they're giving it more to these creators versus spending it on the platform. Even
Yeah.
though most clients, like the ones I work with, will do paid media with my video on
Yeah.
the platform, so it's a double win for everybody.
Yeah.
But again, like I don't think that makes sense that they would even do that because like the views from the bots wouldn't count.
Mm-hmm.
And then is that going to be a new metric they share? Like 10% bot views.
Yeah. I mean,
But our bots liked your video? Like
I don't know. It's very weird. I made a prediction in my social media predictions video, which
mm,
I recorded like over a month ago or something. And I remember people were like, Latasha, that's a wild prediction. Because I said that. I said, I think Meta is going to make, or I didn't say Meta. I said, I think the social media platforms are going to make AI creators because
yeah.
why would they want us to make money when they could make the money? What if,
Wait, oh my gosh, there's the connection. They can literally make an AI creator
cut
that's
us
followed
out?
by hundreds of thousands of humans. And then the
Yeah.
AI creator, and then they own the AI creator too.
And they could sell courses just like Latasha James on how to be a
Oh
social media
no.
man. Like they could get sponsors
Oh
just like Ryan Redu
brother.
and like, and I know that sounds very like doom and gloom, and I don't want to do that, which is why I'm glad we have the optimism over here. But I do I do just think it's something to think about. I do just think it's like, why do we want to replace humans? Why don't we
Right.
help humans make our work easier? I was just talking to a coaching client about, he was asking about Facebook ads. And I was like, honestly, it's only gotten easier because Meta does have that AI for the like for optimization and
Yeah.
for a lot of the creative testing and audience stuff. So stuff like that I think is great. It's making
Right.
your work easier, but it's not replacing a human persona.
I guess though, are there going to be things maybe, and like I don't want it to go this way, but
Zuckerberg, we need to talk to you.
as a defense to help us in the future,
Hmm.
if they can create AI profiles. I guess I get a little bit of experience. So I've been going into the metaverse a lot, which is very in
Hmm.
line with this conversation. And for anyone who doesn't know, I'm actually going to share a video, I think, and do like Michigander enters the metaverse, because I
Hmm.
was able to actually record myself in the metaverse doing things like hanging
Nice.
out, doing actions. It was cool.
Yeah.
But I got a sense because I was able to. So, for anyone who doesn't know, Meta Quest was like doing terrible. They really didn't have a lot going on. There was no games, nothing. Now they did a huge update. I think it was like a few months ago. Don't quote me on that. But I just went in starting a month or so ago. They did all these updates. Now it's like you have a full character. It feels
Mm.
very like Ready Player One. If
Hmm.
anyone has seen that movie, they whatever update they did, now it feels very similar to that.
Mm.
AI goggles are still, or just VR goggles are still hard because you get sick. Like
Mm.
you start to get nauseous if you have them on for too long. Maybe
Yeah.
they'll have a fix for that in the future, but that's I think part of the reason why a lot of people aren't getting on the VR bandwagon.
Yeah.
But creating an avatar, I created that Michigan guy, my name in that world.
Mm.
And I created that person that
Hmm.
can do anything in the VR world. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So like maybe these platforms will also empower us to create
Yeah.
Latasha, the AI bot that is the best freelance educator. You know what I mean? That's just
Yeah.
a little bit, I don't know where, again, like I can see it in the entertainment sense because that Michigan guy, Ryan, I mean, I just started to learn DJing. I can DJ in VR as that
Yeah.
Michigan guy with this character. I can see
Yeah.
the connection there. As an educator, I don't know how that would differ. I guess I don't know how AI Latasha would differ
Yeah.
because you're gonna know what you're gonna know.
Hmm. Yeah. I don't know. I really don't know. And I
It's gonna
mean,
be wild.
yeah.
In
I
10 years,
think
are we gonna have our own bots? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're good. I just it's changed the education creator world fundamentally already. And again, I don't want to like repeat myself if anyone watched my podcast about predictions because I kind of went in depth about it, but like long story short, I mean, yeah, why would you watch a 20-minute YouTube video teaching you how to do something when you can just get the AI knowledge panel condensed version or ask
Right.
Chat GPT. Also, allegedly, a lot of these AI tools are trained off of SEO content, YouTube
Yeah.
content, you know?
That we all made. You know what I mean? Like that's what as a
Yeah.
tool like Google's AI, like even like my husband was like, I love it. It gives me a paragraph summary. And then people are like, oh yeah, but it like links all the blogs that you use. I'm like, yeah, like anyone's gonna click through to the links when
Yeah.
they just got a perfect summary.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of made me think of like, I know that we had a long conversation about blog and like this website I made that is
Yeah.
blog focused, but with AI Google sticking around and just getting better, I mean, I
Yeah.
don't click through to blogs anymore.
Yeah. I
I
know.
don't click through to websites really anymore because I'm
Hmm.
just looking for information. I'm not looking to buy anything. If I was buying
Yeah.
something, obviously I'd click through and like I do with shopping and
Yeah.
things like that.
For sure.
But yeah, for knowledge stuff, I'm like,
I know.
hmm.
So I think like if I can sprinkle a dose of, I wouldn't even say optimism, but just like let me stop being a complete pessimist is like how I try to think of it and how I've been revamping my content strategy as somebody who traditionally made a lot of how to educational content is I'm like, okay, lean more into entertainment
Yeah.
and or personality. So like, I mean I've been vlogging for like a decade plus. So it's like maybe it's leaning more into vlog content where you can still be educational. I can still share, hey, like I'm setting up this podcast, how to start a podcast, but
Yeah.
instead of just like the total SEO version of it, it's like a day of my life as a podcaster or whatever. Like, because those are things that people are going to watch for entertainment value too. And that, yeah, like you can chat GPT the answer, but it still has that human touch and it makes it a unique product, I guess. So I think that's where we have to think of come at it is like how can we make these things our own and not how can we make it more valuable than the AI knowledge panel or either more valuable or more entertaining,
Yeah. And maybe that is just like delivering it in a more
different way.
personal, different,
Hmm.
fun kind of
Yeah,
way.
for
Yeah,
sure.
that's a good point.
Yeah,
Honestly, I
we're
think that
doomed. No,
might
I'm just kidding.
we've talked about so much, I feel like, and shared so much tea that I don't know if we really need any more tea. I feel like that almost is like a good spot to even end with
Yeah,
just saying how, despite how technology advances, how are you going to put the you in it?
yeah,
Because that's really what's going to set you apart no matter what happens.
yeah.
I guess, and even like adding to what you're saying about how you're delivering it, I mean, there's other people that make content about Michigan in the Midwest.
Hmm.
I would say, as a queer person, I
Hmm.
offer a completely different perspective. As someone who's interested in like fashion, I'm wearing
Hmm.
certain things. I focus on the clothing I'm wearing a bit more, I think, than other people do.
Yeah,
I know marketing. I know how to create a community. I love the aspect of creating a community. And
yeah,
that I think differentiates me in how I approach things too. So I think it's always just like focus on what makes you unique and don't stray away from that.
yeah.
I think is a good part as to even though, AI is gonna come on one day.
100%. Because these AIs are soulless, let me just tell you. I mean, I'm serious. Like, people will always post the things. They're like, wow, AI is getting so good. Look at these pictures. Would you ever
Yeah,
guess that they're AI? And I'm like, okay, it does look like human, but there is nothing behind the eyes. Like,
right.
seriously, every time I'm like,
No, you can tell. And I think
yeah,
maybe that will be something too, kind of like how our generation was really good at saying what was an ad and what wasn't.
yeah,
Like products in movies.
yep,
Our generation was super like, oh my gosh, ad, pass, I'm gonna move on. And that's where like advertisers really had to update to be more authentic. They couldn't
yeah.
just be sell, 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 buy this
Mm-hmm.
oven. You had to show what made the oven great just from an influencer. So maybe that
Mm-hmm.
will be the change too, where people will just have to, even if AI does come around, people will still have to figure out a way to deliver the message because you're gonna have I think probably a good amount of people that are going to say, I don't want to watch this thing from AI. I want
Yeah,
to actually see an actual person.
for
Or
sure.
even if like AI becomes maybe 10% of what they want to see and another 90 is human. I think that's
Yeah,
the metrics people will
yeah.
have to start figuring out.
Absolutely. Let us know what you guys think, please,
Yeah.
in the comments. Please keep it nice and respectful, though. Like, this is the thing. I feel like people get so heated about this topic,
Yeah.
and I just think we should respect each other.
We're all just
Okay.
humans. We're all humans.
I think some of us are bots, though, apparently.
What are you talking about? I tried to do the little robot thing there and
Yeah.
it did not come across. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this podcast episode, leave us a good review on leave us a good review on Apple, Spotify, wherever you're listening. I think those reviews really help
Yeah.
boost us up to help us reach more content creators and give them all this great info and perspectives. And then also feel free to subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. You want to get
Mm-hmm.
notifications about when we post a video weekly. And
Mm-hmm.
other than that, we'll see you all again soon.
Bye.
Bye.